Welcome back to another episode of Elevated Thoughts. Of course, I've got here with me Recycle Mike and John from Long Island. Today we found a couple videos that kind of sum up how we see the degradation of our culture and some questionable acts by men in their mid-30s or 40s, and really kind of trying to grapple what the heck might be going on here. So without further ado, let's get to our first video. This is like a strange elective boot camp for middle-aged guys that have really no achievements. Here's the video.
Get the fuck up, bitches! Move your goddamn asses! Why the f*** are you still asleep?
Wake up,
Get
let's
the
go!
fuck up!
Get up!
Get the f*** up!
Let's go! Shoes on, just grab your shit and get out. Grab all your shit. Grab your bags. Drop your sleeping bags. Grab your bags. Come on, grab your bag. Get your stuff. Get out. Let's go. Grab your stuff. I don't even put it on.
Don't
Just get it
shit on now. The fucking truck!
Get in the
Get in
truck.
the fucking truck!
Look at his shirt. Look at his shirt.
Are we lying? It's just water, Kowalski. Stop being a little girl.
The more you do it, the more you're gonna fucking get it.
Get the fucking down. It's water. You were just in the fucking ocean. This is fresh water. You grew up doing this as a kid. Everybody on your feet.
Yes, instructor.
All right, so I saw this and I have a lot to say about it, as you imagine I would. It's one of those things that's just so alarming when you first see it that you want to go down the rabbit hole and attempt to understand it. Okay, so basically what this is a bunch of men, as you said in the onset. It's a 3-day camp. I researched this, that you electively sign up for, clearly. And by the way, Mike, I said to you earlier, do you know how much this camp costs? You thought it was a couple grand. 10 G's. 10 G's for 3 days of being verbally abused by somebody roughly the same age as you. And I was looking at this and how peculiar it was, and it was almost jarring. And as I said to you guys, when you see something that either you couldn't do or you couldn't understand, you're either grossed out by it or you're impressed by it. Either way, you want to comprehensively understand it because you can never put yourself in that position. So I wanted to see this and bring it up to you too. I thought it made for good content, and clearly it does because it's very polarizing, and people are going to see that and go, what the hell is this? Second of all, I kind of wanted to understand it as well, and kind of, at the best I could, understand what makes these guys want to do that and why we have a need for this. Because if you look at that line of men who, in public, by the way, this happens in public because there are TikToks of other people from the 30th floor of their apartment buildings at 2 in the morning. Like, what is going on with these guys getting sprayed in the middle of the street? I don't know if they have a local permission from whatever township, municipality. Hey, can I spray other grown men with the hose at 2 in the morning and call them bitches and all that stuff? Oh, yeah, sure. It's just a civil permit. You'll be fine. What's the reason for this? Why are there so many men in that line? Like, where are we now that something like this is not only being paid for, there's a market for it, but guys are okay being shown on social media doing this and are almost proud of going through it. I don't know if you noticed, they call it the project. Like, secondary, and I don't want to get off on that, but why wouldn't you just make your $50K for 3 years and go to regular boot camp and then go to college for free? I don't know. But my overarching thing, and I want to ask you two, and Michael, go with you first. Why does this exist? Why is it semi-popular? And why are we almost socially accepting it? What do you think?
Yes, and unfortunately, it seems like those men are really in a desperate position. They're craving either some sort of guidance, a mentor, or they're just lacking fulfillment in their lives. And unfortunately, the only person there, who, for them, is someone who's trying to take $10,000 from them and teach them nothing. And not to be too reductionist, but he's just teaching them all the worst parts of toxic masculinity, quote unquote. He's not really teaching them how to be strong-willed men, who are compassionate and care for their fellow men and women around them and stuff like that. They're not leaders, they're just bullies is what they are.
I think this is like the opposite of toxic masculinity. These folks are seeking something in their lives that they've obviously been missing. I mean, firstly, you mentioned they do this in public. These guys are posing as special forces. This is stolen valor. If I were to see these idiots marching down my street, I would think they were Marines, which is a very honorable thing to do. And not to mention, it's only 3 days. Boot camp is probably 6 weeks, 8 weeks, months. I mean, longer. This is ridiculous. These folks are obviously missing something critical in their lives. And what's funny is they can obviously afford to buy this very expensive program. So they're seeking something because they've already got money, but now they're seeking something else. So not only are these guys missing something, they've obviously lacked struggle. They've lacked camaraderie in their personal lives. And what's worse is that they are expecting to get that from a 3-day program when they're all paying this high dollar amount. These special forces guys, by the way, it's kind of immoral. It's a little bit like they're grifting to take this money from these people because what are they really getting? And it's not even ending up with this network or this brotherhood. I mean, listen, I told myself I wasn't going to bring it up today. So be it. We're all in the same fraternity in college. And you know what? We got hazed. We did. It was a little bit of hazing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's the quiet part out loud.
I'm going to just say, we're not going to get in trouble, okay? They don't do it anymore. But when we did it, it was hazing.
We're better for it.
And exactly. It created this bond between us. But guess what? We're still together 10 years later. You think that in 3 days, these jerks from Silicon Valley and the jerks from Martha's Vineyard are going to get together and stay in a Zoom call meetings? No. They're going to go their separate ways. They're going to go brag to their wives that they go and did this. And everyone in their family is going to say, wow, great job. You're very tough. But they didn't do anything. They just spent a lot of money. So, I mean, I can't level this. I have no respect for it, no idea why anyone would do it. It doesn't even look that hard. They're laying on a parking lot getting sprayed with a hose.
There has to be purpose to it, right? So like when you're in boot camp for the military, the purpose is try to recreate the stress you might feel on the battlefield. And then, I wouldn't call it hazing. I don't know what you talk about, what we experienced in college, but the whole point was that there was some reason behind it, right? It was some lesson that you always had your pledge brothers back. It was to try to force you into a situation to make you either decide to, stay loyal to your pledge class or betray them in fear of having to do, a few extra push-ups that night and stuff like that. So, there has to be some sort of lesson to it. And like you're saying, Cooper, they're not learning anything. There's no network game from it. There's no camaraderie or anything. So, yeah, it's lacking in all those.
There's a lesson for us, though, from everyone watching as a society overall. I'll tell you what that is. Because you want to view it through a lens of empathy, even when it's really hard. Even to see something as revolting and grotesque from a male lens as this. Like, I'd never let another man talk to me that way, ever, even if I deserved it. Is this a victim of the first generation coming of age where everyone gets a trophy? And this is also a cautionary tale to all those moms and dads out there that have 10, 15-year-old kids. Oh, I don't want him playing football. It's too rough. What, if you're going to take traditional male rites of passage away from him? In 20 years, he might just be 40 years old, lying in the street, getting sprayed with water. So why don't we keep these societal... I'm serious. You got to... As ridiculous as things are, whether it's in business or it's in life, it's a fate worse than death. I love that phrase. You have to look at these things and be like, okay, this is a symptom of a larger problem. Ounce of prevention, right?
I think it's the next generation of McDojos, if you ask me, right? It's just another grifter of our generation.
It's easy to sit here and just can on, look at those guys and never do it. Sure, we've done that. But then it's a symptom of a larger problem. How do we avoid this, and how do we keep these like normal societal rites of passage intact so we don't have another generation of lying street water guys,
Of men who'd fall for that, yeah, sure.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's you have to view it through a cogent lens sometimes.
Yeah, you have to give them the model, right?
Yeah.
And John, to your point, I mean, listen, all of these 40-year-old something men who laid in the parking lot and got sprayed with fresh water, they left with the participation trophy, presumably, right? I imagine that's exactly what you get, if not a T-shirt and a little printed certificate. So good on you guys. I hope it's on your wall behind you, and that's what you get. That's what you did. So good for you.
They're going to go to their barbecues and be like, I did this. And everyone's like, yeah, bro. But it can't become a societal institution to wrap this up. Because if you look at our last, wait a second, guys, you're going to like this one. If you look at our last pod, right, about OnlyFans and girls becoming culture institution, I was online for Town Bagel, the best, today. And I went through, there was a tile, as they call it, on Snapchat. And it was like a Barstool Sports interview with Eva Lovia. I have the name right here. Eva, she was what my family and friends refer to as a John type, okay? So I was like, who is this? And I made the mistake with a family of 4 behind me of Googling her, and then I'm like, that's what she does for a living. Because I thought she was on Barstool. She was like a main, maybe she's on Love Island or some nonsense like that. Nope, she's doing that, but it's okay. She's a mainstream celebrity on Barstool. It's a cultural institution. You can't put a genie back in the bottle. And I'd hate to see that same ramifications here with fake on the street 2 a.m. boot camp, because there's a clear path there.
Well, that is the perfect segue, because more and more on Instagram and social media, we are seeing explicit content. I'm now seeing women with their full chests and breasts and nipples exposed because they have the excuse of breastfeeding. How would you want to exploit your baby to show your breasts on Instagram? I don't know, but they certainly allow that. What they are no longer allowing, and Mike, this is your clip that you brought today. Let's take a look what they are no longer allowing on their platform.
Instagram started to limit political content shown on the app. Users' algorithm settings have been changed to the default position or limiting political content. The company is restricting any content that mentions laws, elections, or social topics unless the user chooses to allow it. Many people are slamming the move and call it an outrageous overstep and direct threat to democracy. Meta says it won't impact the posts for accounts that people choose to follow or already follow. Some users say the app crashed when they tried to change the setting, or the app wouldn't allow the setting to be changed.
So a few things. Instagram is definitely a very janky app. I still don't have this update. Hasn't even been pushed to me. So that raises the question, is it actively happening? And I don't have any control actually now to be able to filter it, or will it ever get released? So that's one mystery there. What's even more interesting is that, and it wasn't a secret because they did publish around February 9th that they were going to do this. But it's just interesting that this is how they're going to try to limit political content by just simply pulling it from the algorithm. I mean, there's no, how do you police every single post, right? So now to be able to do this, they go into it, they say if it mentions any laws, any social issues, or any elections, they're going to have to do text-to-speech or closed caption monitoring, stuff like that. That's massive filtering through lots and lots of posts there. And while I do appreciate some attempt to moderate our discourse, I just don't know what kind of direction this could be taken, and that I have a lot of mixed feelings about this.
Truth be told, there's no question that they're using language learning models or large language models to police these. We've seen it proliferate on X when the censorship industrial complex was kicked out and Elon Musk bought them. The code was revealed. And of course, these apps and these programs and these platforms are using AI to determine the content. I mean, as we were watching that clip and they scrolled through, right, one of the posts that they used as an example in the quick scroll was a Tiger Woods mugshot. Is that a social issue? Him getting arrested, him cheating on his wife, right? It is, I guess. But now we've got this technocratic overlord determining what we can see and what we can't based on their interpretation of it's a social issue. Sorry. In fact, just last week, right? We were trying to share the video we did last week. It was Ozempic and the TikTok ban. Well, YouTube gave it a red mark here. It said, oh, you can't do that. This one mentions TikTok. That's a political issue.
Right.
It wasn't, though. We weren't talking about the bill. We weren't stumping for anything. We were talking about the fact that it happened. That's it. So now, Mike, you said that you don't have the option to turn the filter on or off. Are you seeing political content?
So this is what I find interesting is maybe I didn't get pushed it because I almost exclusively follow political content, but I have to wonder now though, right? Like where do they draw the lines? I have no problem with moderation. It's just when they're unseen arbitrators of how things are moderated, it really just leaves too much room for either manipulation or just misunderstanding.
So this is way more in your guys' wheelhouse. I know the political niche is your guys' thing. I appreciate that. I didn't do my legwork with this one. I'll totally come clean about that. Is it going to be more of the same BS where no political content means you can't see Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form, but I can get Joe Biden eating ice cream every single day? Is that what it's going to be, more of the same?
So in the theory is that if you do not follow this political account, you shouldn't see them. So in theory, it wouldn't be any Biden, Trump, any senator, representative. Okay. But then, like I said, there's these labels around it. If you talk about legislation or a quote-unquote social issue, how do we define that, right? That's where this line is just so gray. And for us, as we're trying to build our little media empire here, right, this could really stifle a lot of, organic growth during this time period here. That would mean that people, if they're not explicitly subscribed to our account, or following, they're not going to get any of our material. And this could be really important for not just media organizations for audience capture, but just getting information out there. Again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because I know that there's concerns with manipulation, but at the same time, there's just this gray line that I don't know how we, navigate.
So basically, we're getting off the blocks and we get nerfed.
More or less.
Exactly.
The watch goes absolutely crazy. The watch goes crazy.
No, the truth is about this app, though, is it is so reminiscent of the horrors that we experienced in 2020. Because the fact of the matter becomes that you have now the censorship industrial complex and big tech, who almost certainly is working with CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency, who famously says the election was the most secure in history, which is total crap. They are sending memos to Wikipedia, to Google, to YouTube. I think about that. The government is sending memos to Wikipedia about what information is true or not in their eyes. In their eyes. So now, in this election year in 2024, we've got political content being banned. If you could think back to 2020, it was October of 2020. The FBI reached out to Mark Zuckerberg. They reached out to Jack Dorsey. They reached out to all the different platforms. I don't remember who the CEO was of Google at that time. And they said, expect a hack and dump operation. You're going to get Russian disinfo this month, and it's going to be fake. You can't publish it. And they didn't. They blocked the Hunter Biden laptop story, which would have been possibly the nail in the coffin for the Biden campaign. So totally manipulative. And dare I say that this is interfering with an election in this country. So really bad stuff. I can't level with it. I don't know. Mike, do you think it's good? Because I remember you said to me before, when you were on Twitter and you started making posts, you were like, well, they actually shadow banned me because I was getting a little bit too fervent with my replies. I mean, do you feel like being pulled out of the political arena is also like a little bit of a relief for you in some ways?
No. So like I said, I appreciate some attempt to moderate the platform. I just don't know if this is the way to go about it. You know, like I said, there's definitely concerns about disinformation and things like that. But to just simply cut off large sections of the platform to people, I don't know. I think there needs to be a more nuanced discussion before, implementing something like this. And like I said, in an important election year like this, to stymie the flow of information, I don't know if is necessarily the best way to go about it.
All right, so I am going to shift gears a little bit, and this is what I'm bringing to the table today. I've got a couple images, and we were just talking about politics being banned. Well, I wonder if something like this would be banned. Here's a post that was shared on X that I saw. It says, this dude can't even tie his own shoes anymore. It's a picture of Joe Biden. He's actually wearing Hoka's, kind of a nice brand, but you can see they've got a little pressure clip to pull the string. He can't tie his shoes anymore. But what I really wanted to focus on is this gentleman is wearing a full suit. He commented, he has pretty nice suits, but he's wearing a full suit with sneakers now. So sometimes this is acceptable, right? If you're going to go on a very casual networking event or a dinner, maybe you could wear those nice Cole Haans that have the little white sneaker sole, but they're still absolutely dress shoes. So first of all, this Hoka, it's pushing it a little bit, right? So what I then did was I said, wait a minute, are there other people? Because I know like John Fetterman, he wears this Carhartt hoodie every day into the Capitol building. It's like, okay, dude, maybe you could go to Big and Tall and get something that fits. But so I found another senator. His name is Jared Moskowitz. He's not a senator. He's a representative. Jared Moskowitz. And this guy is a self-proclaimed sneakerhead, says he has over 150 pairs of Jordans. And it turns out that every time you see this guy doing politics in a suit, he's wearing his fancy Jordans. Now, I'm no stranger to fancy clothes, right? I wear Supreme. I have Kith. I wear all these nice brands. Heck, I even have Jordans of my own, okay? Everyone can have cool shoes. You don't need to be a senator to show off your cool shoes, okay? Because a lot of people have them. But what you should do is maybe invest in a nice pair of brogues. Or maybe this senator could find a nice pair of monk straps. Heck, if he wanted to show his personality, I could even get you a blue pair of snakeskin double monk straps from Italy. These cost more than any Jordan this gentleman has. And you could tell, you want to know where he is in this picture with those orange shoes on? He's at Marjorie Stoneman High School, the Parkland Shooting High School. And that's where he is wearing those sneakers. Now, orange is the color of gun control, so that's probably what he was getting at. But it's a little bit weird, wouldn't you say? And then when you go a little further, look at this. He's got the purple sneakers on at an LGBTQ benefit, right? Of course, purple matches. This was him on his first day in Congress wearing the DJ Khaled edition Jordans. Very classy. Another one. And here he is on St. Patrick's Day. This gentleman looks like a middle schooler heading to the prom because that's exactly what they do. So I scrolled through his website and I found this article. He's literally syndicated a GQ article about himself on his own website showing his $100,000 sneaker collection and saying that I am the chairman of the sneaker committee. I want to bring the soul of the nation back. But meanwhile, In his very quote, he says he only wears Nike and he doesn't wear Adidas. So he finds a way to be discriminatory in his own statement about sneakers, of which he says he's restoring the soul of the nation. So I had to find it. I couldn't. I kept scrolling. I wasn't happy about it. But I finally did find where he decided to wear his dress shoes. And do you know where it was, John?
Do tell.
It was when he visited Israel. It was when he met with Bibi Netanyahu. That was the first time he wore regular dress shoes as I scrolled down, and it took me about a year to get to that picture.
That's why they would not have put up with that.
So why do we put up with it when we travel internationally and we don't put up with it? I mean, this is just blatant disrespect. I'm sure he gets support from folks like Hakeem Jeffries that let these folks do whatever they want, but it's an obvious degradation of culture. We look like middle schoolers going to the prom and we're meeting with world leaders. Let's get real. Like, this is seriously messed up, in my opinion. It's just foolish. I have the fancy stuff. There's a time and a place.
All right, so a few things here, Coop. I think there was something with the coach of the U.S. men's national soccer team. I don't recall his name off the top of my head, but there is a theme I've noticed with men that are way too old to be sneakerheads that become sneakerheads, in that something creepy always comes out about them down the line at some point. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen with this guy. Maybe he's a lovely guy. Probably not. So I would put a fair wager that something about him comes out down the line, because it's just weird. It's almost like an infantile expression of self. And what we do is we embrace that so much, right? Because it's like, oh, it's so quote unquote cool. But I actually think that sneaker culture is going to be rejected by like Gen Alpha and whoever kids like 10, 15 right now, because they see the old guys doing it now. They try to act cool and it's like incredibly cringe. Also, a couple points, just because you touched on my wheelhouse. Sneakers with the suit, never. And the Colhans with those like faux sneaker things where it's like a amalgamation of a dress shoe and a sneaker. Also, no. Just for everyone watching. No. Put your loafers on. You know. By the way, those snakeskin monk straps. Oh my God, magnifique, beautiful. Oh.
See, I'm most offended at the diss at the Adidas Sambas. I've been wearing Sambas for like 20 years now.
Those are your and wait, by the way, if you look, I think you see Bella Hadid's always rocking those. A lot of like other celebrities that are known for their style watch. You're all good with those Sambas, man. You're not all good. We're not all good wearing your middle school PE orange shoes. It's ridiculous.
I wouldn't be wearing them to a friend's wedding or a formal function. Absolutely not.
No, but you do see people
to the
getting
aftermath
married
of a school shooting, right?
Yeah.
Or that too, for sure. Yeah. Just a time and a place. I think you touched on it perfectly, Cooper. Time and a place.
Time and a place. But that is not so bad, because at least, I'm not going to say not so bad, because it's still bad. I also just never like sneakers in a suit, period. But the Fetterman thing is an abomination. The Fetterman thing, that's almost like a social experiment, or like a, hey, look at me, I'm going to poke you as hard as I can to irritate you type thing. I mean, that is just, and what he sticks his like big like Shrek head in the door so he can like vote from outside until they change the rules for him. And notice, Mike, I'm sorry. We have commonality. I'm good to you. You know I love you. All these sideshows, all these fashion failures, they all seem to have the same color on, the same letter in parentheses next to their name. I'm just saying.
Well, in fairness to the Jared Moskowitz character, actually, he noticed that Kevin McCarthy, who at the time was Speaker of the House, came in wearing those exact Cole Haughtons that have the sneaker sole, and he basically said, as the head of the Sneaker Coalition of Congress, I permit this, I stand by it. Who the hell are you, man? I mean, so listen, I cannot deal with this guy. It's actually just disgusting. So listen, John, what else do you have for us?
Like appropriately?
Yes, please, appropriately for the podcast.
Right. So I'm gonna have a little fun, but first I'd like to say a little somber note, since we just did get off on a political tangent. There was a very sad incident happened here on Long Island, in the city on Long Island. An NYPD officer, only 31 years old, was shot in broad daylight by a guy that had 21 prior convictions. Shot him in a traffic stop in broad daylight. He was from Massapequa, which is not far from where I am right now. So, shout out. It's a dark day on the island. Just wanted to send thoughts and prayers there, and it's really ugly, and I hope things like that really do stop happening. I just felt like that needed to be said as a proud Long Islander.
Yeah, hey, I've heard a lot about MS-13 presence on Long Island. Was it anything to do with that?
Undetermined yet. Wouldn't surprise me given the scope of it. That is more Suffolk County thing, but I don't quite know. But it wouldn't have felt right if I didn't give that its due weight, and I don't want to not give it its weight, but also I don't want to not say the word disgrace, but I don't want to go off into the political aspect of it right now. Obviously, we all know what the glaring issue there is, but I just wanted to give it its respect and say something as a guy that loves living here. So, moving on from that, I was out and about again on my beautiful home of Long Island Friday night, watching March Madness. A friend of mine loves basketball. It was his birthday, so I'm like, yeah, I'll go out. We'll go to a few bars, watch the games. The proliferation of sports gambling and how ubiquitous it is like out of control. Okay, and yes, there's pluses and minuses like everything else, right? Before sports gambling was everywhere, who would have cared about the Texas A&M Nebraska Cornhusker game? I don't think anybody.
Nobody.
You know? But now it was a row of guys at the bar screaming, and all of a sudden all these stats are being thrown around. I need him to hit 2 more three-pointers. He's got to get another rebound. This half can't end unless they're 10. And it's crazy. But there were some guys having fun with it and laughing, but then there were some guys that were genuinely panicking. Right, and
my whole house is riding on this.
Yeah. So one thing is, I'll tell you again. Went down a rabbit hole afterwards. I'll get into that. But the funny thing I noticed, like a little social experiment when I was in there, there was this guy. What's his name here? Tamanaga, Japanese. They call him the Japanese Steph Curry on Nebraska. It was pretty cool. He's like 5'0", just shooting up threes. Everyone seemed to have prop bets on him because there was a valuable prop bet. When Tamanaga was hitting his shots, he was the man. He was Ronald Reagan in the 80s. Everybody loved him. In an instant, once he started throwing up bricks, I hate this guy, F you, get him off my screen. And it's funny because I don't think that's any good, right? Like, that's not going to lead us in a good way. I'm a huge tennis fan. You should see a lot of people in the ATP and the WTA post their DMs after a match, especially if they've lost, and bettors DM them like the worst stuff. And I just want to know where is this betting culture taking us? Like, what's going to become of it? Because at the end, if you're winning, you're great. I love you. Once you stop making your shots, I want you to die. You're this. You're a racial slur. It's whoa. This is where we're at now.
Yeah. I mean, Mike, do you ever gamble on sports?
I have never. I'm not into the sports too much. So, no, I will say, though, in Florida, we just recently had our sports book open up. It just recently was legalized here. Hard Rock Cafe being the biggest place to do that right now. I have not stopped receiving advertisements every single day about how I can gamble there legally now. And I just have to say that, they're really kind of preying on the people who, don't have that self-control or willpower. And to John's point is it's so pervasive now. Like I know lots of people who have taken up, fantasy leagues, in competitive ones just because it's something to do because everybody else is doing it. And now we're voting on, we're gambling on college games of such little consequence and then harassing and death threatening, players when they don't do so well.
Another funny thing about it, I think, is that you have sports gambling, right? Which is, I mean, back in the day, the stereotype of gambler was like your crazy uncle didn't really have steady income, who was just throwing money he didn't have. But I find it kind of funny that, I can't have these, according to Chuck Schumer, right? Because they're bad for me and they just care about me. They care about me so much. But I can go out there and throw 10 grand on a UFC fight if I want. That's totally
John,
okay.
You can't have Zyn, but you can have this. As much of this as you want. It's online. Right. How much can you afford? Can you spin it? Can you win? Oh, almost.
Well, Cooper, I got to go to the pot store and get my gummies or whatever nonsense. Do that first so I'm lethargic and sit there, and then I can gamble. That's okay.
Well,
but
make
God
sure you
forbid
take
I
your
have some mental
Vyvanse to
acuity.
offset the pot first, because then you'll be in the right mindset.
I thought you were going to say Ozempic. I was about to leave.
Okay, last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about Ozempic a little bit, and I took it upon myself. I said, you know what? My weight tends to fluctuate. I go up 20, 30 pounds every year or two, and maybe I got to lose some right now. I got to get on a downswing. Okay, I have some of that baby weight still. We just had a 5-month-old, so
God bless.
It's understandable to have some baby weight on the dad. Mothers are cringing right now. They don't agree with that. What I decided was I am not going on Ozempic, but my power of my mind and my willpower will carry me through. So, John, I told you on the phone earlier this week, I haven't eaten sugar in 9 days. Today's the 9th day. It's Tuesday. I started just about a week ago. I feel great. I have more energy, as you can tell by my delivery.
Absolutely.
I'm able to wake up earlier. I jump out of bed. My movements are regular. But the best thing that I did was I convinced myself that I was on Ozempic. Apparently, what it does, and I did this for all of you. I watched the Oprah special about Ozempic where they brought on doctors that literally conducted the clinical trials for Ozempic. So are they really doctors or are they really propagandists? But they showed a lot of testimonials from very, very obese people, and it worked very well for them. So I said, what were these people doing? What was the effect? Did it just kill their hunger? And they went on to describe that it did a little bit more than that for them. It didn't make them beholden to food anymore, or addicted to eating food, or like food was the only option on the table when you're bored, or when you're feeling bad, or when you're feeling happy to celebrate. You're no longer a slave to food. And I've been trying to apply that mentality, and it's actually been working really great. I can walk into the grocery store and walk right out without the pastries department, the pastry section. Or I can go to my friend's house when they have a whole spread out and say, you know what, I'm not really turned on by that plate of cookies right now. I think I'll go for the veggie platter. And that's happened multiple times since I've convinced myself that I'm mentally on Ozempic. So this can work for other people. I think it's better for my body than the alternative, because you're on it for life once you go on it. I did not know that. Did you know that you have to be on it for life?
No, Cooper.
You don't go on it for life. No. That's
Yes.
That's only if you actually have diabetes. I could tell you stop the regimen when you want to and you wean off.
Well, that is not what the doctors said. I'm telling you. They say they go on it for life.
People, if they take a prescription, I'm sure, but I know people who are prescribed it because they were pre-diabetic and they're planning to wean it off at a certain time with already pre-discussed with their doctor. So there are people
be mentally on Ozempic after, I'm sure.
If you do truly have full-blown diabetes, then yes, that would be a reason to stay on it for the rest of your life, because that's what's helping modulate your glucose regulation.
Cooper, I'm really proud of you, man. I'm serious. All kidding aside, I think that's awesome. That speaks to something else that's very interesting, which is the power of the mind and mental frameworks. Mike, if you remember a while back, going back to Teen Nation, there was an article where a group of guys for 6 weeks got 200 cc's of test a week, and one got just saline shots. Neither knew who was what, and the gains in lean muscle were actually similar because they had the placebo effect of, I must be juiced right now, this must be lighter. So the fact you're speaking to the power of the mind, like life force like that, is very cool. You know what the coolest part is after our conversation, that you did that and made those changes? I didn't have to make you lie down in the street and spray with a hose to do it.
So when you were talking about sport gambling and all these nerds looking at the TV, seeing who's going to score the next basket or not,
Some of them are decent guys.
I'm like Mike. I'm the nerd. I don't actually even watch sports. I watch some football, but that's about it. So I would never bet on college basketball. I would just lose my money.
Likewise.
Honestly, I have a slot machine prop in my studio, so there's a different problem that I've got. But no, I read a study, and I will try to link it here, that your testosterone as a man is directly tied to your investment in your sports team and whether or not they win or lose.
True.
They would test men's testosterone levels after their team won a glorious victory or after they suffered a terrible defeat. And the testosterone levels of the men who sat on their couch and didn't even play on the team were positively or negatively affected. So honestly, when I'm mentally on Ozempic, maybe I am literally releasing cortisone or whatever the hell is going on, and I don't feel the need for the food. My mind is making this happen, so I'm very happy. Maybe I need to become like an anti-fan of the Knicks or something so I can constantly be on high testosterone levels, but there's got to be a different way, and I don't think sports gambling or slot machines is the way to do it.
So there's no doubt in the power of placebos, but I think like the key objective and the end-term goal with that for the people who aren't on Ozempic or Wegovy because they have diabetes is to change that relationship with food, right? We have a very unhealthy relationship with food in America. I think that's fundamentally our biggest problem, and we don't eat because it would be a good time or it's convenient to eat or I really enjoy it. It's like, I need to eat this real quick because I'm so stressed out, I got to get back to work, and then I got to stress eat later and stuff like that. When we travel, right? And what is one of the best parts of going, to Europe is just enjoying that different, not food cuisines, but food culture, right? It's just a different appreciation for it, not in the same way that we have here.
I'm going to share a little anecdote here, Mike, because I know we recently expected and produced as you travel to Europe, which we did. We went to Switzerland and we went to Italy for a little baby moon, as they're colloquially calling it now.
Nice.
And it was a very poor decision on our part. And I'll tell you why. In Italy, a testament to the freshness of their food, they don't pasteurize their milks or their cheeses.
Right.
And when you're pregnant, you cannot have unpasteurized milk or cheese. So my wife, who... You can't drink wine. You can't really drink coffee. You now can't have the cheese. You can't have cured meats. We said, what can you eat? We went to the best truffle restaurant in Milan, and we said to the woman, she's pregnant. Can she have truffles? So we went to Italy. We basically had, the simple food, right? We had pizzas and we had pastas, but nothing too fancy.
You know what European women do? They just eat it anyway, and they're here.
Right.
Yeah, it's a risk assessment, and American doctors are very conservative, and they say you can't consume anything that's not pasteurized or if it might have contamination and stuff like that. But somehow for tens of thousands of years we've got here, inadvertently consuming wine as our daily beverage, right? And eating all of these unpasteurized fermented foods that are dangerous and things like that. But we made it here, So there is certain reasons to be conservative when you're thinking about a risk, but also at the same time, what's the point of living?
Well, when you're in the back of the cab on the way to the hospital with your wife, remind her that women used to give birth in fields, okay?
Absolutely.
I'm sure they'll love that.
Yeah, I will.
That'll go over great. Coop, let me ask you something. You're making this fitness change, cutting out sugar, all these things. You rocking crop tops this summer, bro?
It's
No,
the age of the dad.
certainly
It's
no.
the age of the dad tank.
Listen,
big long armpit hoops.
For me, it's more of a question of will I go sleeveless or not? That's even just a bar up. For me, I'm actually a long sleeve guy, even in the summer times. I wear long sleeves with shorts. It's kind of it's a strange choice, but I choose it. So no, I will not do a crop top. But is that are you talking about a football jersey? I don't even know what you're talking about.
So there's a New York Post article. You should link it up here. It's making a comeback. Now, the pictures they show is a little too... I prefer the term abbreviated hem, okay? Crop top, no, we don't like to do that. I have, and I know you have one of these too. Oh, God, here it is. My trusty Lululemon bag, okay?
Oh, yeah, we have many of those.
It's a crossbody bag. I don't like the M slur, Merce. I don't like the P slur, purse, okay? If you want to gender bend a little bit for your own convenience, I think it's totally okay. Now, what's inside of it, we don't have to worry about that. But I kind of like it. Not too short, but they reference something in this article, a brand that I actually bought a couple shirts from. And let me tell you something, man, with the baggier sleeves and that shorter hem kind of hits right at the waistline, it's a cool look. I think that if you've been taking care of yourself and everything like that, it's something, especially guys like you and me who skew a certain way, you see that and go, oh, no. Give it a whirl.
Well, that picture you showed, as they call it, he's got the nice little, he's got the
that's
fifth
too
and
much.
sixth of the pack showing, and
that's
the dick
too much.
root.
No, it's got to end. It can't show skin, but it's got to be enough. If you move, maybe it does. Not that. It can't be a half shirt. But I'm just saying,
until you have to switch a light
bulb.
bulb, and then you're showing the whole world what you got going on.
Yeah, well, maybe if you're wearing that, you want to change the light bulb and show the world.
So the whole man purse phase, I don't understand. I can understand carrying one. What I don't understand is the strapless ones.
I like how you just used both words I told you not to use. That's just great.
You're just burdening yourself by carrying a purse without straps. That I don't understand. I can accept.
It goes over your head. It's like a crossbody bag.
No. It's the ones without the straps. It's like a
a clutch essentially.
Exactly, the clutch, but without the straps. Though that's what I'm trying to say. It's like a messenger envelope, and to me, it's just impractical. I can understand carrying a purse for a statement reason. What I can't understand is carrying a purse without straps, because it just means that you have to carry it around and show everyone that this is what I have. Yeah,
my man.
There you go.
My man. And Coop, let me ask you:
laptop sleeve, to be fair.
Do you keep track of everything? Do you ever lose your keys anymore? Do you ever lose your wallet?
No, I don't lose my things.
It's the greatest thing going. Because if you're a scatterbrain, because that's the downside of ADHD, which I have, and I think we talked about it in the chat. If I go up to the counter to pay for something, if the Apple Pay doesn't work, oh, where's my wallet? It's not like, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? No, it's right here. Bang, there you go. There's convenience to it.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, with the skinny jeans, that's another fashion choice that men have totally subscribed to.
Skinny jeans are out. Jeans are out. What are you talking about?
Fine, but that was the impetus to say you can't fit anything in your pockets anymore, right? This is what women have been dealing with their whole life. In fact, women don't even get pockets. They
don't get pockets.
They have fake pockets.
Pseudo pockets. They just fit like 1.5 index fingers in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, now they're making women. They're making leggings for women that have the side pockets like cargo pants. Now.
Yeah,
very functional. But
you see cargo pants.
Single house
cargo
key.
Pants look cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got my male fashion trend that I hate. I think actually, like I said, if you have 6 or 8 packs on your stomach and you want to show the bottom 2, that is your right. I give you that. What you are not permitted to do as a man is wear a pearl necklace. The amount of times that I've seen this on men wearing pearl necklaces, I want to rip it right off their necks. Don't do it, John. Don't do it.
What are you looking at me for? What are you looking at me for?
You
No, speak freely. Speak freely.
Okay.
Come on.
I don't know. You guys are both from Long Island. I'm from Connecticut. It's just a different. I would never consider wearing a pearl necklace. I even wear a necklace, and that is so far away from what I would wear. I just think that I don't know. Maybe.
I'm trying
your
to.
Your hair is 10% more bouffant than mine, so maybe you would go to a pearl.
I think
necklace.
I think we need to bring puka shell necklaces back. I think it's their time to shine.
Pearl necklaces are
That's
a bridge way
yeah.
too far. A bridge way too far. It's actually a fun fact that when you're Italian and your last name has as many vowels as it does consonants, that the necklaces just sprout. You don't buy them. You wake up and they're there.
Exactly.
Yeah. It happened to me one morning. I was like, oh, whoa. They multiply.
Yeah.
Where did this horn come from?
Well, the other adjustment is when you get married, you have to start wearing a ring, and then you get used to it. Though actually, I don't really take it off anymore.
All right, but what about? I'm thinking making the Aura ring move. What do you think of the Aura ring?
I own an Aura ring. I've used it. I enjoy it. I'll tell you this: it's sometimes difficult to like carry your groceries in because it's a very thick ring. So like if I would take it out take it off if I lifted weights because you can't really grip something. It's in the way. Yeah. So what it's good for maybe is like running or anaerobic exercise or cardio, but it's not good for lifting, which is basically the exercise that I do. Because it will hurt your finger. I'll send you mine, John. I don't wear it anymore. You have to pay a subscription as well.
So here's let's be gruesome for a moment. I want to wear it for tennis, right?
Yeah,
Because I thought my fit, but I don't want to deglove my finger. You know what I mean? I don't want to deal with that whole situation.
Is that big of a concern in tennis?
Well, I would wear it probably on the right, or even I hit a two-hander on the left side. So
I was gonna say
it slides up. Next thing you know, it's just all red and pink, man, and it's a science experiment. I don't really want that to happen.
What do you mean? It's gonna like hurt your finger?
You don't know what degloving is?
No.
Imagine your hand was a glove and you took it off. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I didn't go into the medical field. No, thank you.
What is this, like Native American scalping? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what would happen.
I didn't know this was such a prevalent injury in tennis.
No, but I'm saying if you're hitting with the ring, I don't think anyone wears them. You hit hard enough, like if you hit really hard, like I do.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid it would like slide up. I don't know. So maybe I'll give it a whirl.
I wore my Aura ring skiing a lot. I was afraid it was going to fall off my finger when I took my
I
gloves
wore
off.
my Aura ring skiing. Yeah, on my Italian vacation.
Yes, in the Swiss Alps. Yes.
Yeah. Listen, Glacier 3000. Check it out. It was very cool.
Nice.
I'm happy you're happy.
Yeah, no, it's been good. But truth be told, definitely have to lose some weight and get more physical. But that Aura ring, I don't know. I used it more so for sleep. That was what the best attribute was. But then at the same token, right? Like, okay, I woke up late. I don't feel great. I kind of know that I didn't sleep
great.
No, but it's good to have those metrics.
Jeez, thanks, app.
to have something going that's running between all of us, right?
That's
Cooper,
fair.
Cooper, you have this newfound fitness thing with your mental Ozempic framework, which I think is awesome. It's really cool. I think it's cool if we go through week by week, hold each other accountable, right? Mike, you must have something you want to work on too. I do. I'll go at the end. Go ahead.
I have an idea for Mike. May I?
Go ahead if you have an idea for me.
Can you mentally go on trend?
Mentally go on trend?
I'm mentally on Ozempic. Figure it out.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I might go a little ballistic though. Trend. You're skipping all the steps on the ladder and you're going right up to the top.
Mm-hmm. Gear up, brother. That's tough.
Seriously. All right, so I'm gonna probably have about 5 more pounds of solid mass before we go on to the next show. Going on mental trend.
You get the
John,
trend
what's your
sweats
mental?
too?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you gonna go on mental Zin, John?
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing it IRL. Be very careful with what drug you're putting me on. I mean, I don't know what you have in your mind. I was just trying to say I wanted to sleep more, but here you are wanting to put me on drugs. But yeah, that is my goal because I wear the Fitbit, which I don't love. To be honest, I'm very frustrated with it. Sorry, Fitbit, if you're watching, but it doesn't track too well. But anyway, I check it in the morning. Like this morning, 4 hours and 12 minutes of sleep. That's just not going to get the job done. So my goal is, the problem is though, and Cooper, you can attest this as an entrepreneur, Mike, you too, is that when you wake up, this is a tough part of our lifestyle, right? You wake up, you got meetings, you're all over the place, you're moving, shaking, you're doing what gives you energy, which for me is talking to people, doing things like this. No matter how much you exert yourself, whatever you do, by the end of the day, the RPMs, that's what I call it. The RPMs are so high that even if your body is tired, your mind's like, no, bro, we're up. We have ideas, we have goals, we have dreams. It's like, dude, stop, shut off. No matter how much caffeine, it's not tied to that. So learning how to turn that off and those frameworks is like what I want to work on for sure, 100%. And that's why the Aura Ring, I think, would be good.
Hey, potentially. The real reason I went and got the Oura Ring is I used to always wear an Apple Watch, and then I'll say this: I upgraded to a dumb watch from the smartwatch. So giving me those achievement flexibilities on reading my movement, that was basically what I was thinking. But no, hey, I think you're right. We should hold each other accountable. It's kind of cool. It's a social experiment, and everyone gets to watch it. So,
and I think it's pretty good too, because a lot of times, let's face it, we high horse a little bit. Not that we should, but I wouldn't do that. I should do this. I mean, we try to ease it on that, but we're practicing what we preach by trying to be the best versions of ourselves and being honest. Because there's going to be a time I said I want to sleep better. I'm going to come out here and be like, I failed. So some transparency that we're human too. We're trying to figure it out, do the best we can. I think that would lend itself well to the things we talk about when we weigh in on culture and society and things like that.
So here's the last thing I want to bring up today, and this is something that I've been kind of like tweeting about this week, and it's just been another thing that kind of grinds my gears, and I hope you don't mind my rants today.
Let's go.
There is a new podcast that's been out, and it's called the Whatever Podcast, and it's this gentleman named Brian who seems to be pretty normal, and he brings on maybe like 10 guests every show, and 8 of them are OnlyFans girls. So, models, bartenders, all girls who are essentially porn stars. And then he brings on like 2 right-wing, like, I call them Christian zealots, because they're not even politically right so much as they're like,
ruthless.
All women will obey me.
Right.
That is what traditional masculinity and traditional family values are, that women will obey. And I'm looking at some of these people and I'm thinking, this podcast as a whole is now platforming these OnlyFans girls and these religious zealots that so obviously are scumbags in their real lives and do not live up to the morals that they're espousing. So we're platforming now these 2 grotesque groups of people, and they're sharing their ideas and their best practices. But the only thing that you could possibly gain from this is, oh my God, I can't listen to these people anymore. So my issue with it is that people, though, are listening to this podcast and they're framing it like, oh, wow, these OnlyFans girls are really dumb. They're in the wrong. This guy on the other side of the table who's owning them must be totally in the right. But this idiot is totally even stupider than some of the girls in many cases. I'm going to link the clip later when I post this, but truth is, this guy is saying, my wife will obey me. That's his whole mantra.
Your wife's expectation, I don't know.
My wife's expectation?
Yes.
My wife's expectation was to give me children, take good care of my children, and to obey. That's the expectation.
Okay, well, I would obey my partner, for sure. The children part, I'm not looking to have children anytime soon.
But when you say obey, what do you mean by that?
Like, to be respectful and to be submissive to your
That's
man.
respect and submission is different than obey.
What do you
What's your
mean by
definition?
Well,
obey?
obeyance is when I say to do something, you do it. And if I make a decision that you disagree with, ultimately I have the final say, and you don't have one.
Oh, that your wife has to abide by that?
Yeah.
Why doesn't she have a final say?
Why would she?
Well, does she not offer anything to you that would
Sure,
allow her to have an
but it's up to my
opinion on
choosing
something?
whether or not I intake that and agree with it or disagree with it. But ultimately, if I disagree with it, it's my decision.
So you're the one with the...
Gavel.
A gavel? The judge? No. It's in a Christian marriage, man's head
Nope,
of the house.
sorry, that's what happens. Well, guess what? I'm going to go Google his wife. I can almost imagine what I'm going to find, and it's something like, the size of Lizzo and the attitude of freaking Nancy Pelosi. So it's not something that I'm interested in, a woman to obey me. I'd like to be a partner with my partner. Wouldn't you guys say the same?
Facts.
Sorry,
Can
I'm
she
getting-
invest?
I'm getting angry here.
Can she invest like Nancy Pelosi though?
Yeah,
I'll put up with a lot of attitude if you can invest like Nancy Pelosi.
But what do you say? It's Nancy Pelosi's husband that's doing a lot of the trading there.
But Cooper, I would say I would totally agree with you, man. I think like the male-female discourse is like so gross, and like there's so many women out there I feel like that watch this stuff and like hate men or something like that. Like I love women, probably to a point where I wish I didn't so much. So I don't really understand like the conflict. Like it's just doesn't talking to a beautiful girl, even if it's not anything risque, doesn't just make your day.
It
just
has
make your day?
it has a
Bree, I'm sorry.
scientifically
Bree, don't come for me.
proven.
But-
it has a scientifically proven dopamine effect. Go ask
It
Huberman,
does.
who just had a hit piece written around him. It's biology.
And these Cooper, I agree with you, because I hate the fact there's like this male-female divide. 'Cause I love talking to girls, not just like in that way, just like, hey, how are you? Like, it gives you energy. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm this Christian traditional guy, weirdo. Okay. Then you have these like other girls, like, you guys would never link in real life. You have no commonality, so just like let each other be. Please, like, why? I'm totally with you. It's gross. Like, my wife's gonna obey me, dude. What are you like? You good?
Right. You had to put
weird.
The two fighting fish in the tank for no reason, right? Like, you know that they're not
Great
going to get
analogy.
along.
They're just going to shred each other. You got to clean it up.
It's Mexican chicken fighting, exactly.
Yeah. So no, it's unfortunate because that's what passes for entertainment nowadays, right? You know, like that's what people tune in to see. And, you know, I'm going to sound really old right here, but like, you know, the more they watch this crap on TV and the internet, like that's how they're going to think everything is. But it's like, if you don't really have models for, you know, what good communication looks like, you know, not to, you know, plug our show here, but this is what civil discourse looks like. You know, people who only watch that video will come away thinking it as like, oh, girls are dumb or men are pigs, right? Like, so it just creates bad models for everybody involved. And I worry less that we're headed for George Orwell's 1984 or Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Like, I'm afraid we're heading for Idiocracy, man. Like, that's every day that movie seems more and more like a documentary, less so, you know, a comedy.
To tell you what, that's me with Ready Player One.
Yeah, right.
That's me with Ready Player One, for sure.
Yeah.
But Mike, to your point, there's kids in high school classes now that are like, oh, obey me, like, dude, like, what are you doing? But you almost can't blame him because he's impressionable and he sees this nonsense on TikTok and he's like, oh, that's okay. Yeah. Exactly.
There was another clip that was, it was a psychiatrist who knows what his studies were or his credentials were, just self-described psychiatrist on the episode there. And he said that it's been proven that when a man loves a woman a real lot, when he loves her a certain amount, so much, he actually will find it impossible to have sex with her or make love with her anymore because he'll see it as defiling her.
Guys can lose their sexual attraction to their wives, not because they get old or they gain a bunch of weight or they stop putting effort into their appearance, but because they love them.
What do you mean by that?
They call this the Madonna whore complex in psychology. It's like, it's actually hard to take somebody that you love, not just the body, like the person inside the body that you love and cherish and care for, and bend her over and f her hard. It's really hard to do that. It's really hard to do that to the mother of your children and your sacred wife. Do you understand? It can be. and so what I'm saying is that, like, they kind of have to have this switch in their mind where sometimes they have to be able to just objectify a woman in order to bend her over and give it to her real good. We often,
like, wait a minute, people in their high school years or their college years are going to listen to this guy and say, this guy knows what he's talking about. I got to find a girl that I kind of hate because I don't want to give up sex my whole life. Or, oh, I really love this girl. I better not fall too in love. Otherwise, I won't get sex or get laid anymore. Like, it is so backwards. It's so unnatural. It's like this guy might as well go get a job with the Tate brothers at Hustlers University because he's preaching shit that is stupid. It's stupid.
I don't think that's Tate level stuff, man. I don't think Tate would say it. But yeah, there's so many hang-ups with sexuality, this and that. And I disagree so much with whoever that guy is and what he said, but I don't want to like get us in trouble. I think we had a great session, you know. But I will say, actually, no, you know what? No, let's just end it.
Well, I do want to encapsulate what we were just talking about with this story. So there's a relatable internet Long Island couple that's like the darling of Instagram, and you know, because if you're from that kind of Northeast culture, they make such funny videos that are super relatable to all your relationship problems right there. And they just recently announced that they're pregnant. You know, and they were a childless couple for a long time, making lots of jokes about that. Right, we're getting to like our mid-30s and then starting to make those decisions to start a family then. One of the top comments on that video of when they're, you know, saying, hey, you know, we're expecting, you know, we're pregnant. Someone said, oh, that's so sad. I really enjoyed following you guys. You were one of, you know, the childrenless couples, and I enjoyed watching that. And I'm like, bizarre. Man, what a bizarre, pathetic, sad comment that like, oh, I wish that you, even though you want children, that you wouldn't have them because I enjoy watching that on my internet box machine. Like, wow, like what dehumanization, right? Like, oh, all those wants and needs and, you know, fulfillment that you're seeking. I don't care about that. I just want to be able to to have my, my vision of you.
What's weird is it sounds like they're not. It's like a couple who's doing like skits or informational videos in a way. Like they're not even. It's not even a model, right? Who was in a bikini every day and then got pregnant.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, I'm not following you anymore. You're not hot anymore. It's like you're having
Which
a
happens.
kid. My life doesn't like align with yours, so screw you.
It's very odd when someone announces that they're pregnant in your life. Your lives begin to separate if you're not having children at that time, but you always support them, right? Like just because your lives are going in different directions doesn't mean you're resentful because one of your family friend or loved ones and friends had a child, right? No, you're happy for them.
Yeah, completely.
That's a great point.
Well, John, me and Mike are in the club, dude. You're next, right?
With what?
Children.
Marriage, kids, traditional conservatism of the nuclear family.
Next in some span of time, I'm sure. Not anytime soon.
We won't blast
you need a rogue one. You need a renegade, don't you?
A rogue one.
You do. Well, John, that's why we love having you. You really do. As I say, you have your finger on the pulse of the youth, as far as the youth can be interpreted by a couple of young 30-year-olds. The Utes, a couple of Utes. And Mike, you have an unbelievable handle on the political sphere and what's going on. And I just blast my ideas out on Twitter all day, and I tend to have a good time doing it. So, guys, thank you for bringing up some great topics today. If anyone's listening and wants to add something, please comment it below. But don't forget to subscribe and share this episode if you liked it. Thank you all for listening. This has been Elevated Thoughts.